Welcome to the Summit Speaks, presented by Summit Edge, where we explore the digital transformation redefining the global supply chain.
Because for a long time, this industry lived by the motto, don't fix it if it's not broken. That was like
Yes.
the main line for many companies. They knew some areas may not be the most efficient way to do this task, but they were okay with
Yeah.
workarounds, with some time consuming tasks. That was just a reality of
Yeah.
this industry. But it
Yeah.
all ends up with asking this leaders saying so a very simple question. Where does your team spend most of their time? What is the repetitive work, the low value task they're focused on? And
Yeah.
typically this is like some hunting for information, track and tracing, making sense of some messy data. And then if we say AI can fix it, like easily, then it's a different discussion. It's no longer just a cool tag that can be added. It's a tool that actually amplifies productivity.
So even after years of digital transformation, document process still remains very highly manual for the most part across the industry, where people are still pen to paper or manually typing things in. So why has this problem been so difficult to solve across the industry?
There were multiple attempts to solve this problem. It's not that technology didn't try, but standard programming, like some traditional automation, it just cannot handle the complexity of logistics documents.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us here on the Summit Speaks. We look forward to this episode. Today we have Olga Mollier on. She's a logistics and supply chain professional, helping companies overcome some of the biggest challenges in the supply chain space, especially in the manual document processing space. Olga is the VP of sales for melly.ai, and she works on the customs brokers and freight forwarding space and helps those industries transform themselves using intelligent automation. Her work focuses on streamlining compliance and heavy workflows and improving data accuracy and eliminating operational bottlenecks. She partners closely with industry leaders to implement AI-powered solutions that deliver real and measurable results. So we're super excited to have her on. Olga, welcome. If you'd like to add anything, feel free.
Thank you very much, Manjot. It's a pleasure to be here today. I'm excited about this discussion.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. Me too. Okay. So let's just jump right in then, kind of talking about some of the high level, setting some of the context here. From your perspective, working closely with logistics leaders, how do operations evolve over the time with AI, like particularly in the supply chain space? How have you seen that evolution come about?
Yeah, so the last few years were impressive. Well, I personally, I don't come, I come from a different background. I used to work for tech companies for cybersecurity, but when I joined logistics like 4 or 5 years ago, it was a completely different world for me. And back then, AI was there, but it was not popular within this industry at all. When people heard AI, they were just scared. When it
Yeah.
existed, it was mainly for some management, for prediction, for some high level tasks, but operations, like people who actually do the job, they didn't really know anything about AI. So I think the last few years were crucial for the industry because now the main change is that operations actually use AI in their day-to-day lives. So that was like a drastic
Yeah.
shift in the industry.
Yeah, and I think you're really bringing up this interesting point that typically in the supply chain space, the adoption of technology has been kind of slow, right? But what's becoming more and more real now is that we're seeing that companies that are AI centered and AI forward thinking are starting to pull away a little bit. So everybody is in this race to try to figure out how do they develop an AI strategy, but now we don't really like a lot of times people that haven't invested in learning about the new tech are now starting to feel the pain of like being a little behind the curve on some of these things because the technology has evolved so rapidly. So my next question kind of into that vein of that conservative part of things. So we are seeing some adoption, some of it's more rapid, some of it's not. But what do you think is driving now this accelerated adoption as compared to other industries?
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure you like completely agree with me because for a long time, this industry lived by the motto "Don't fix it if it's not broken." That was like
Yes.
the main line for many companies. They knew some areas may not be the most efficient way to do this task, but they were okay with
Yeah.
workarounds, with some time consuming tasks. That was just a reality of this industry. But I feel what's driving adoption now, it's no longer just hype. They want to be cool with AI. I feel it's the basic need of survival. All companies get that their competition is implementing automation. They get more efficient. They can serve their clients better, offer better rates, better service in general. And those
Yeah.
old school companies, they really stay behind. And this difference, it gets bigger and bigger over time as technology
Yep.
gets stronger.
Absolutely. No, you're I think you're nailing it. Like, and some of these times, like, there are like in business, there's these lagging indicators, and then there's some of these like proactive indicators, right, of whether your business is driving real value. And like these KPIs sometimes are hard to measure, and especially as this technology continues to evolve, there's a need to deep dive and understand data differently to really understand how it's driving real material business value, right? So my next question to you is kind of in that regard is, so now that generative AI is commonplace, everybody understands that it's here to stay. I mean, all the major companies have invested in it. Most major companies have significant AI strategies at this point, especially in the supply chain space. So when leaders like made that may not be a part of that, we'll call them the industry powerhouses like an Amazon or a FedEx or a UPS or something like that. But for leaders that are in the supply chain space that are viewing this as hype, how do you really help them understand the real business like value, the practical value of AI through material KPIs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's truly easy to dismiss AI as another hype word, even though it's not no longer nice to have. It's a necessity, but there are still companies thinking, well, it's just a buzzword. AI, it's everywhere, like in all industries, not just at work. But it
Yeah.
all ends up with asking this leaders saying so a very simple question. Where does your team spend most of their time? What is the repetitive work, the low value task they're focused on? And typically this is like some hunting for information, track and tracing, making sense of some messy data. And then if we say AI can fix it, like easily, then it's a different discussion. It's no longer just a cool tag that can be added. It's a tool that actually amplifies productivity, solve the task.
Right.
So in this case, we view AI more as a tool, not just AI for the purpose of implementing AI.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and you're nailing you brought up some really good points around like where does your team spend the most time, right? And how does it drive the most value and most productivity? But then there's some of these like places where there's like hidden costs, right? And I'm sure you're seeing these throughout the industry where because companies have just done things a certain way for a very long time, it's hard to like imagine a world to not do it that way anymore. So I feel like besides the hype hurdle to cross, we'll call it, there's also just a application hurdle to cross where people don't see it fitting into their business. And so there's a lot of education that has to go along with how this actually drives real value.
Yeah.
So, oh, very cool. So, based on what you're seeing in the field, where is generative AI typically delivering those quick wins and the most visible wins in the logistics operations?
It's usually when we have some most repetitive, low value tasks. And if they're like time sensitive, that's the low hanging fruit, something that has to be automated ASAP. It may be, well, of course, it depends on the industry, but if that's a specific, like well defined workflow, document processing is a great example because logistics is all about the documents. Documents come in, they're generated by the companies. It's something that can be easily automated because that's where people spend a lot of time doing repetitive work. And that's pretty much what differentiates traditional programming and AI. That AI can do some better analysis in a timely manner. And for like traditional programming, it's just like it doesn't make sense. Okay, it should be probably
No,
cut off.
100%. Yeah, no, definitely. No, I mean, like that's the thing is I don't know if some of these even low hanging fruit, right? Like when you think about like track and trace, and we'll get to document processing because that's your bread and butter. But the like for example, track and trace. A lot of times, we'll have conversations. People are more than happy to say, oh yeah, well we've further optimized and we've moved our track and trace like processes overseas, so our cost is very minimal. I don't need AI, right? But then you think about the training cost, the turnover cost, the inaccuracies, the speed to respond, probably the additional like dissatisfaction your customers are getting because they're not able to get the response in time or get on the line or hold times and things like that. So there's hundreds of other factors in that space where it is the same process, it's the same responses, the same templatized workflow that you have to go through for track and trace. Where's my package is a pretty simple question that is can be self-served. And a lot of the FAQs are pretty general. So as you're hearing this like throughout the industry, we hear this word agentic AI. So we know what generative AI is, kind of chat GPT, but we're hearing this agentic AI word come across a lot. So in your words, what does that actually mean? And how does that apply to this industry in practical
Yeah.
terms?
So I like explaining agentic AI not in tech terms, but really like simple words. If we know Gen AI is ChatGPT, it's like the brain. It can analyze, it can do the repetitive work, it can do it really well. Then agentic AI is more like the behavior. So comparing a generative AI, it can take care of a specific, well-defined task, but agentic AI is more like mimicking your best team member, really mimicking their behavior. So the biggest switch here is that the process no longer starts with a human enabling this AI to think, asking specific questions. It's more like agentic AI kicks off the process, and the human is only there to support if some exceptions happen. So it's
Yeah.
really like a slightly different workflow. Agentic AI gives us more flexibility, even faster response time, because things can happen faster overall. And there are also multiple applications in logistics depending on the use case. But there are a lot of scenarios when Gen AI and agentic AI are combined because agents enable generative AI. So these terms, they are very much related, like just like slightly different technology, but it all has the same beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and a lot of this time, like we especially for folks, in senior leadership roles that maybe did not grow up with like AI as a concept, and for us, for me even, I would say at times it becomes a little bit of a black box in the background of how things actually truly work, how large language models actually work. But when it comes to the actual application of it, like as a product leader, I can see multiple different spaces where that can
Mhm.
happen, right? So when we think about agentic AI, what do you think that it will fundamentally change in workflows as compared to some of the previous types of work that we used to have, like more prompt-based tools or like robotic process automation where you had the if-then rules? Like, how is this fundamentally different than some of that technology?
So one of the most fundamental differences is that it's able to combine understanding of the previous prompt, some reasoning, but most importantly, predict things. So it doesn't just work with existing information. It can open some gray areas that people haven't even considered in the past. Like as you previously mentioned, it's a stable industry. Some things are fixed and people are used to doing them this way. But agentic AI can just open some new areas to show how things can be optimized. And then, of course, it will be up to a human to make the final decision. But sometimes it's good to have like an absolutely fresh set of eyes, like analysis based on everything else it processed.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we've talked about this many a times, like, but it's like one of the best like personal assistants, right? Where
Mhm.
you can ask it questions, you can deep dive questions, you can also kind of layer in some understanding, basically creating like a digital clone of your process or your like whatever your workflows are. and then help garner insights and even synthesize data to produce like unique insights.
Right.
I mean, it's a very powerful tool if used in the right way, for sure. Okay, well, jumping now to kind of your business in melly.ai. Document processing is a hot topic in this space, and you'd mentioned at the top of this podcast that there's hundreds, if not thousands, of variations of documents all around the world, different complexities to like different field mappings, all different types of ERP systems. So this whole ocean of data, process, systems, and so on and so forth.
Documents. As you mentioned, there are thousands of hundreds of templates of different documents, and they all look in a different way. And it's not that they only look in a different way, the quality of these documents is different. Sometimes you may get just a photo taken in a truck. It's not even readable, like the information is blurred. Sometimes it's a first generation PDF, and there are still lots of companies getting some hard copies of the documents or getting them faxed. That's still the reality of the industry. That's why the variety of use cases, different clients, different documents, that's the biggest challenge of the industry. And only AI, like generative agentic AI, only with the help of the latest technologies, we get to the quality which can be accepted by logistics companies. It's now same quality as the manual input, if not better.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, you kind of touched on it, but the different variations and things like that. But what makes some of these documents so complex across this industry? So, like, when thinking about customs, when thinking about transport records of like HBLs, MBLs, and so on, why is this industry so complex in its document processing space?
Yeah, because information has to be captured properly. So this industry doesn't tolerate mistakes. I'm just taking an example of a customs broker. It's not that the information has to be interpreted properly in general. Like the invoice lines, they have to be in the exact same order, the exact same codes, descriptions, numbers. Everything is so important that the cost of error in this industry is quite high. Like one typo may cause penalties, delays, or even like bigger problems. That's why the industry relied on manual work. They were like, no, we're going to keep it manual for now. It worked for years. We're not going to change it now. So that's a very difficult topic.
Yeah, definitely. There's been, I mean, and I know there's a lot of folks out there trying to solve this problem alongside your team there at Melly. So we'll talk a little bit more about Melly here in a second, but just one final question around some of the real bottlenecks that we see in this space is how do some of these inefficiencies in document handling cascade into some of the issues in billing accuracy? And you kind of touched on this, like there will maybe some very strong downstream problems to an error, even if it's off by one digit or something like that. So compliance to even the customer experience, of course, starting from that, what are some of these cascading effects that you see with these inefficiencies?
Yeah, so it's everywhere. In logistics, in transportation company or freight forwarding, it starts with a document. So if the order is not entered properly into the system, that's when it all starts. It will cause problems in compliance, then penalties, and it will, of course, affect the customer experience overall. Because someone made just a typo in a bill of lading number. As I mentioned, the cost of error is really high, and it not only affects the customers, but it affects all industries. Things get late, updates are not clear, no visibility into operations. Everyone is frustrated, and it may all happen because of just some minor errors.
Yeah, yeah. 100%. And it's such an interesting space in that regard, right? So I think that leads us perfectly into kind of the work that you and your team are doing here at Melly. So Melly, .ai, melly.ai, like you focus on converting unstructured documents into more structured data and usable data. So why do you feel like this transformation is such a turning point for some of these logistics teams? What is driving that value?
Yeah, because all logistics teams, they either have an in-house team handling incoming documents or they used to outsource, but outsourcing causes a lot more problems than just cost savings
Oh yeah.
in benefits. You're right. We extract data from the documents, and that's one of the good starting points for the companies because they can see results immediately. So it's never about firing people. It's more about using these people to focus on what truly matters. So they can focus on some customer experience or sales. So by eliminating a very basic document processing data entry, companies can get so much more out of it. They can grow their business. So there is more to it than just not typing data anymore.
Of course, yeah. I mean, you basically are removing a point of failure where many, even if your team was 100% accurate, let's just take that as a baseline, and it was just as accurate. You're definitely not optimizing for, your capacity needs. So certain months of the year, you need much more admin
Mhm.
staff to do the same type of work. Certain times of the year, you don't need as much admin staff. So either you have too many people or you have too little people at times. So this also allows you to load balance your capacity and really focus on, to your point, right, the areas of the business that really add value and drive value for your business,
Yeah.
right? So
Even for smaller companies, the ones that are just like in the very beginning of their business, and they have unlimited capacity to grow. They don't need a huge team. They don't need to hire 5 more people because they sign a large client. So they can handle everything within their small team, and AI will be like their extra assistant, their super employee with no sick leaves and vacations.
exactly. And exactly. So you don't have overtime, sick leaves, vacations to have to manage. And you should still hire the right talent to help you, manage the exceptions, manage the customer experience, growing the business. Right? So like all of those aspects, and not necessarily managing the day-to-day data entry.
Exactly. There is so much more to do.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. After implementing these AI-driven document processing automations from your customers and from your experience, what tangible results, either operationally or financially or both, have you seen your customers drive?
Yeah. So the benefits are everywhere. First, what we do, this solution, it has direct return on investment because we save people's time so they can focus on other areas. They can be switched to other departments. Some numbers we typically see is for every 5 employees, we need one to take care of exceptions because what we promote is AI as a co-pilot. It will not replace people completely. We still need human judgments to make the final call. It will always be there, probably like for the next few years. AI is not there. We need to manage it properly. So,
Hmm.
cost savings are there, but most importantly, we see enhancements in accuracy. Even companies like 5% error rate is quite acceptable in the industry, but
Yeah,
we improve it. So our clients see like 98, 99% accuracy. And this 2%, it means they mean a lot in some industries, like for customs brokers, for example.
of
That's
course.
still a lot.
Yeah.
So it's cost, accuracy, but also time savings. So lots of companies struggled with entering data promptly into the system. For customs brokers, it may cause truck being stuck at the border because the customs clearance is not there. So with this solution, everything is processed as soon as we receive the data. So there is automation to it. So it's a combination of different benefits that are combined, and combining them, AI is a no-brainer for all companies.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It just becomes, I think the challenge, unfortunately, for some of these folks is getting over that first initial educational hurdle as to how it really truly drives value. But once you've bought in, like, and you also understand the cost benefit analysis, it becomes a no-brainer for sure.
Once you're in,
So
there's no way back.
exactly. So looking forward now, as we kind of look into the future here a little bit, if you had a crystal ball and you see generative AI and agentic AI reshaping the supply chain industry, what do you see over the next, we'll call it 2 years as you see this industry evolve?
Technology is moving so fast. It's very difficult to predict. It's scary to predict because we never know where AI will be in 2 years. But if I were to guess, I think AI will be moving from just a specific tool for specific use cases and will become a true operational partner for some departments. So it will provide even more actionable insights. And now it's already no longer nice to have, but this position will get even stronger. I'm sure all companies, if they want to stay competitive, they will have an AI strategy, and not just a strategy, they will have some AI success stories. That's inevitable.
Yep, 100%. And like to your point, you can choose not to use it, just like how people choose not to use the internet when it first came out. But eventually, you do have to get on board. And it's for those that are those early adopters that are going to really start seeing the benefits here in the next couple of years. You not only AI is becoming like a single tool or a couple of tools that you've stitched in, but there's some level of AI centricity to your business where it's AI at the foundational layer, and then you're helping make decisions and optimizing flows from there. That's where, when I look forward here in the next, like, we'll call it a year to 2 years, we're going to start seeing our first few AI centered organizations. Actually, you and I are going to manifest. And, I used to work at Amazon. One of the SVPs that I was in the reporting line for, Dave Clark, started this company called Augur, and it's an AI native platform that is developed for supply chain systems. So it's interesting. He'll be doing a keynote. I'd be interested if you wanted to come through and watch that with me. But it's such an interesting space. Meta just made the purchase and became one of their first large customers to help manage and run their supply chains. So it's even companies at the size and scale of Meta that have probably incredible data scientists and systems engineers and things like that are partnering with, AI native supply chain companies to help build out infrastructure for them. And that comes to the same problem of, hey, the supply chain industry is a little bit of a unique unicorn.
Yeah.
And you really need to if you're developing solutions in this space, you really need to understand this space very well.
Yeah, I
Right.
can't
So,
agree more. There are so
yeah,
many nuances in this space.
yeah,
And in the future, I'm sure
100%.
we'll see even more synergies between the companies, AI companies, and some industry leaders.
Yeah. Hoping for the best there. Yeah, for sure. And so now, as we kind of move forward, as leaders kind of are shifting their mindset, organizations understand the need that could be coming from the shareholders of the executive board. But as the industry leaders start to kind of some of them are kind of starting their AI journeys.
Hmm.
So, what would you say is the single most important area for them to prioritize when they're kind of starting their journeys in their AI transformations?
Yeah. So first and foremost, it's important not to overcomplicate things. They need to pick one use case, get it automated. AI is not a magic pill. It will not solve the business's problems in general. Because I've seen some people, they were like, okay, we want to implement AI. We want to do a bit of here, a bit of there, and then just like reorganize the company at AI. It will help us. We'll be successful. It doesn't work like that. We have to take baby steps first, and this way they will get to their ultimate goal, to their success. But it takes more than just one idea that AI will solve everything. And
Yeah.
then it's also important to decide. It's important to decide, some companies want to build AI internally.
Mhm.
For some large organizations, it may be a nice idea, but technology moves so fast that I guess it's better and easier. They will see the results faster to partner with some trusted vendor. Depending on the use case, there are so many great solutions nowadays, and we'll see that
Yeah.
next week at Manifest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Finding your right partner, it's also key. And
Absolutely.
in terms of their planning, it's important to have clear expectations from AI. As I mentioned before, AI is not a magic pill, and for AI to give some results back, to give some benefits, companies need to invest not just money, but really investing time to
Mhm.
prioritize this initiative, nothing will happen with just one click. People really need to investigate the problem. They need to set up this AI so it can work for them. So in the beginning,
Yeah,
it's about investment, but then it will pay off eventually.
agreed. I mean, and a few weeks ago, I was interviewing and had him on the podcast as well. My one of my old colleagues from Amazon, Kevin, and he's now at Lineage, and he was talking about this addition of automation and intelligence into your business processes. But if you don't have good data or good processes, and then you try to layer on top of that AI, it's going to produce horrible results. But if you clean up your data, if you put in the time effort that it's required to actually implement it in the right way, get your data sets correct, making sure that you have good data in so that the outputs are also good. Similarly for your processes, if you're automating workflows, but your current processes are horrible, your current SOPs are not up to par, then how do you expect to then automate it using AI? AI is not a magic pill. I'll use your words. It's a enhancement. It's a co-pilot. It's a virtual assistant that can kind of help you down that journey. But it's not intended to be the silver bullet to solve all your business problems. So
Exactly.
very, very good analogy. If you had to describe AI's role in the logistics industry in one sentence, and this is how we always conclude our podcast. So just one powerful sentence on what do you want it to become?
Yeah. So I'd say today AI is handling some repetitive, low value work. What I want it to become is to become even stronger, to really help teams thrive and make some smarter decisions and run operations more smoothly. It will enhance the industry overall. And if one industry grows, it will be like the overall economy grows.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we're all tied in a web. Everybody wins
Yeah.
together. Um, with that, do you have any other final thoughts for us today?
I think I'm good. Hopefully, AI will be implemented by more and more companies. We know that. So I'm excited to see what the future holds for us with AI.
Yeah, yeah. I'm excited. And thank you again for being on. And thank you again to you and the entire Melly team for being great partners with us here at Summit Edge. It's been a fun ride for the last 3 years. I think we've had some amazing wins. We've formed some really good partnerships. So thank you again for everyone. Appreciate the time. This is all the time we have for today at Summit Speaks. Once again, Olga, appreciate the time. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, Manjot. It's always a pleasure.
Explore our channel for more exclusive industry insights to keep your business ahead. If you enjoyed this, please like, share, and subscribe.